Welcome to another edition of Soulfire Ascension with Raven and Lisa Love Light. Raven is an aura, past life regression, and clinical hypnotherapist, a Quantum Galactic Akashic Reader, RAAH Reiki Angelic Alchemy Healing Practitioner, and Ushui Reiki Master. Raven also offers one-on-one spiritual consultations. Book your free 15-minute discovery Zoom call with Raven at ravenshealingarts.com. Lisa is an aura practitioner, RAAH Reiki Quantum Galactic Akashic Reader, Ushui Reiki Master, and offers one-on-one soul coaching sessions. For questions or booking sessions, you can message her at sacredheartquantumhealing.com or at myabundanceflows247@aol.com. You can watch Soulfire Ascension on YouTube and Rumble. You can also listen to Soulfire Ascension on Spotify. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and we hope you enjoy the show. Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Soulfire Ascension. And this time we have Miss Gina. And of course we got Miss Lisa. So let us play Gina's little video so we get it all. Soulfire Ascension welcomes Gina. Gina is a birth doula who practices AURA Hypnosis, RAAH Reiki, and Quantum Galactic Akashic Readings. While learning these sacred techniques, she was able to transform her own life and now advocates on how others can make changes in their lives that will assist them in their personal experiences and healings for their families, to make changes for themselves and their children on their journeys. Live Friday, October 4th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you missed the live show, you can catch the replay on YouTube or Rumble at Soulfire Ascension, or listen to Soulfire Ascension on Spotify. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Soulfire Ascension is sponsored by Raven's Healing Arts. Book your free 15-minute discovery call today at ravenshealingarts.com. We thank you for watching and we hope you enjoy the show. Yay! Welcome, Gina. So happy to finally have you on the show, because you've been in the audience and now we get to have you all to ourselves on the show. Well, not to ourselves, but you know, kind of.
Well, thank you, ladies, for having me today. This evening. I'm so excited to be here. I've been watching your show, and it's so much fun to see how everybody just kind of has so much to offer and share. So it's a true honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just have, so our audience knows, can you explain what a doula is?
Yeah, so basically it's what a doula is someone who helps families prepare before, during, and after birth. But doulas can come in many different forms. There's also death doulas, people who help prepare people to transition over. You know, sometimes people want to prepare. Sometimes maybe you have like a long-term condition and you want to prepare, make sure your family has what they need for financials or things like that. But also, Raven, you mentioned doing aura hypnosis and RAAH Reiki. That's kind of like a form of doula too. Basically, we're helping people find the information they need, help them decide what works best for them, and then they grow and they learn and they figure out how to move forward. So that's what's really beautiful, is like being a doula is a person who just helps you really understand what your options are. What's the next step? What changes? What messages? What do I do to help me go forward? So while I love being a birth doula, I see how it can help in many forms of what we're working through as well.
Beautiful. Well, that's I didn't realize that. I thought it was just for birthing those babies.
Well, yeah, originally, doulas came from basically the women who help other women birth and
Mhm.
support. So that is truly where it came from, is women helping women with their birthing experiences. But as we go through life, we realize, women are supporting each other in so many different ways, families. And we all need somebody to kind of, at one point or another, not saying always, but at some point or another, we might need somebody to help us get a little nudge in the right direction. And
Mhm.
and I'm not doing anything for my clients, for what they're going through, whether it be the doula aspect or the hypnosis aspect of RAAH Reiki readings, things like that. I'm not doing it for them. I'm helping them so they can do it for themselves. And what I
Right.
think is so beautiful, especially with just all the clients really, but with birthing clients, is you think about something that's huge, a momentous moment in your life. You're having a baby, bringing a beautiful soul in your body is holding this life inside of you. So it's really up to you to figure out what you're going to do. But as a doula, I can help you if you have questions, find those answers, right? So
Mhm.
for me and my clients, they have specific concerns and worries, right? We all go through different things in our life that cause us to have like traumas or shocks or perception or ideas, or people who put ideas in our head, right? And then
Yeah.
we get these little fears, these little, oh no, what if? And so what I love doing is making sure that people get those questions answered, so that way they feel calm in their hearts and they can let that go. And then they can work through the next thing and they can let that go. So by the time they get ready to have that beautiful baby, they've worked through it all and they can focus on that beautiful moment, that connection with where the veil is the thinnest, and they're bringing that life form in and they can just focus on that with them and their partner, their baby. And that's what's really beautiful.
It is. It's so beautiful. So it's natural childbirth too, right?
Well, not everybody chooses to have a natural birth, but that's what I mostly try to assist families with. And that's the ones that I prefer to work with, is ones who try to stay out of the medical system as much as possible. Hi, New. So good to see you on here. But yeah, I love supporting families who make a choice that's different than what they've been taught. So many people have been taught you can only have birth in a hospital, when in reality, hospital births have only been around for a little over 100 years, right? And
Right.
that the natural process for humankind, all of humankind, was to birth your baby in a very safe environment where there were no people who were disturbing you, people who were not trying to stress you out, just having that safe, sacred space. And that's what I like to try to honor, is to help people get back to feeling that safe, sacred space. Now, I'm not saying, because I'm not a doctor or a medical professional, just make sure we state that in no way. Um, I like to make sure that people understand that, because there are many people who demonize having babies at home, having home births, having natural births. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now,
Absolutely not. Women used to have birth in the field.
yeah,
That's
and
how
it's
they
so
were
beautiful.
working.
Right. It's so beautiful you say that, because many women are going back to nature to have their babies. Women are
Yes.
having babies in waters and like lakes and rivers and oceans. Women are having outdoor births. They're connecting to water births in their home, or land births somewhere sacred or special. Families there, children there around them, trying to be very organic and connecting to the natural processes of it. So while there may be times when there are emergencies, there could be times for emergencies, and then that is important that you get the assistance that you need, right? But
Hmm.
most of the time, there's not a medical necessity, because birth is natural,
Hmm.
and hospitals are mainly for if you have some kind of illness or some kind of emergency. And birth is not an illness or anything like that. It is natural. Your body is made to do it. And we all know how it is when we get kind of pressured into something, and many women are pressured into making sure they go to the hospital. And a lot of that is fear, not just from themselves, because most women that I find, they feel the fear coming from others. So like family, partners, things like that. So
yeah, peer pressure. Just another form of peer pressure. I mean, so that's super interesting.
Definitely.
But okay, so what we're really here today is to talk about changes. What can we do when it's time to make changes? So you want to start off maybe with something with that, or Lisa, do you have something to say?
I just thought that this was a great time to address this topic, since we just had a new moon solar eclipse on Wednesday. So I just thought it was divine timing that this beautiful topic that Gina is discussing today was just divinely in the flow with our conversation. So
oh, beautiful, Lisa, beautiful. Yeah, sometimes it's just meant to be. I didn't realize this was going to be the new moon or the double or the solar eclipse. We have the two suns there, but you're right. It is perfectly aligned for that, right?
Yeah.
So I'll ask you ladies a question.
Sure.
With changes, when you say the word change, what does that make you feel?
Personally, I like change. I don't like staying in a rut and just keep going, and that's when you end up being complacent and going through the motions. And to me, change brings forth, new emotions, new things. That's what it is for me.
How about you, Lisa? When you hear change, what do you think?
And one of my favorite sayings from a wise man that I used to once know: the only constant in life is change. So it is definitely something that always will occur in life, just like the time that goes by on the clock. It's always shifting, just like our seasons and the days of the week. So I, just like Raven, I embrace change. So
Right. And that's so beautiful you say that, because truly every moment is a different moment, right? It's constantly changing. But if you think back years ago, I'm going to say for myself, change was hard, right? For me personally, I had so many different traumas, things like that, where it felt safe if you just stayed the same. But if something shifted, then you had to face it. Now, at that time, I didn't have all the tools and the things that I've learned now. I love Rising Venus Aurora. Her classes have tremendously helped me personally in my growth, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in all the ways. I've grown and really worked through so many different things. But at one point in time, change was scary. But I've learned myself to embrace that change, like you ladies were saying, because if we didn't, think about that. If we didn't change, if we didn't let ourselves grow, where would we be? Where would we be? I know for myself, I would be very unhappy. Very unhappy.
I know I would too. I mean, I'm with you. Back in the day, change was a little difficult, but now I feel like I've learned to embrace it and I enjoy it.
Right. And see the beauty in the change. I think that's for me that you have to shift. The first thing you have to do, I think, for change is to acknowledge where you're at. You have to meet yourself where you're at. Right.
Yep,
For me,
that's the important part.
Right. Acknowledging where you're at. And I know for me, in order for me to realize that so many things had to shift, meeting myself where I was at was difficult. to the point where my body had to tell me, hey, you are going to have to change. Right? We feel it, we know it, but sometimes our bodies tell us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know at one point in time there was a lot of stress that I went through, people in my life that were not healthy for me, and my body felt it to the point where my heart was like, ah. I felt like quivers in my chest. I felt just tired, exhausted. I was carrying other people's burdens. They show up. So these things show up physically in your body, and you might have something that seems like an illness when it's really telling you and screaming at you, hey, you have to change. You have to get out of this, whatever you're in. And then you have to look and say, okay, what do I need to change?
Yeah, I agree with that. Our body does let us know when we need to change things. And there are people who are energy vampires that are toxic for us. And no matter how much we love them, we just can't have that toxic energy in our life, sucking the life out of us, basically. Sam says, I like changing and evolving. They always bring new things, who inspired me, and new learning experience, which I love to discover. Yes.
Yay, beautiful, Sam.
She is beautiful. But yeah, I mean, I agree. And I also, sometimes it's super hard to get those toxic people out of your life, even though you love them dearly. You just have to do it for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you had to do that in order to heal and grow as well?
Yes. So I would not be here today if I didn't. Honestly, I would not be here today. And again, a lot of those people you love your whole life, like parents or siblings or those aunts and uncles you were told you had to deal with, even though they weren't good for you. Cousins and people who you thought were your friends who didn't mean love for you. So yeah, I had to let go of that, and not just for me, but for them too, right? Because if I'm not happy and I'm saying, hey guys, there's things that are going on, you got to change. There's, if they're not getting the message, it's not fair to them to keep holding on, because they're probably gonna be feeling attacked a little bit too, right? So
I would assume so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the hardest thing is when it is a family member that you do love, but you just can't subject yourself to the toxins, or somebody who doesn't treat you right, or.
Yeah, and it'll be the closest people to you, your inner circle people, the ones that you love but are just pulling you in like quicksand. I had a ex-partner who, it was horrible. No matter how much you love people, if they're choosing not to change, you can't let that pull you down, because you will physically drown yourself. You'll drown yourself in your emotions, your sadness, and wonder, why am I not good enough? Why am I not this or that? But really, it's the other person's lessons they have to learn, and you have to let them learn that and know that you can't control it. All you can do is love them, and sometimes you have to love them enough to let them go.
Well, wasn't there an old saying about that? If you love something, let it go, and if it returns, it was meant to be, or it was love, or whatever. Sometimes that has to happen with some people, and that's our way to heal and our way sometimes to change, right?
Right. And we learn so much. I think that's one part of change and healing that we don't talk about enough, is the gratitude for how horrific some of these things were. For me,
yes,
I think learning all my lessons that I've gone through now, there's always more to learn. I like to give people this example. People will say, well, how do I get past certain things? I'm like, well, it may take a while. And one thing I like to tell people is that when a memory comes up, an emotion comes up, Like, say you haven't thought about something in a really long time. You're like, oh, I thought I dealt with this. Well, there's a reason it's coming up. What's the reason? So I like to take a moment, even if it's just a split second of the day. And I like to take a breath. I'm like, okay, it's there. What is it telling me? I'm like, okay. And I just let my higher self tell me, okay, Gina, this is what you're learning today from this. I'm like, oh my God, you're so right. I didn't think about it from that perspective. Okay, let me think about it. Let me go back and heal myself. All right. And then I think to myself, that younger version of me didn't even get that. And I send her some love because she went through it, and my love now is helping her in that then. So I got through whatever it was because I'm loving myself now. And then I have to say, okay, thank you so much. I forgive whatever that was going on. I forgive those people involved. I got to forgive myself, because if I'm holding on to that guilt and worry and like, I can't believe I did that, how stupid was I? If I'm holding on to that, it's going to eat me up later. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I always say that, what is it? Not forgiving somebody else is like drinking poison and expecting them to die. You know, we need to forgive others for ourselves. It's not for them, it's for us.
Right. And doing so without expecting them to change.
Right.
Forgiveness without expecting anything else in return. Because sometimes we feel like there's got to be an equalness, but they can't make you whole.
Nope.
So you can't be equal to them. You have to be whole in yourself. The equalness, the fullness comes when you do what you have to do. And if they choose to stay on their path, if they choose a different karma, they choose whatever, not to heal themselves on their journey, that's for them.
That's their timeline.
Yeah. And so your fullness and healing comes from you.
Yes.
And working with your guides and your higher self, and comes from your recognition of what's going on with you. So the change has to be you being brave enough to say, okay, I can do it. And being brave is a challenge sometimes, especially when maybe you don't have the resources at the time to get away from some situation. Maybe you don't have the empowerment in your heart yet. That's okay. There's still things that you can do to start when you feel you have that change, that calling, that longing in your heart. You'll feel it. You'll feel that calling, like, I can't do this anymore. You might cry yourself to sleep and like, oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow? But I think Lisa her internet.
Yeah, she'll be back. She's having internet issues tonight.
Yeah. But I feel like when you feel that calling in your heart, you can't ignore it anymore.
No, you can't ignore it anymore. And just because I don't know about you, but I've found, when I'm ready for a change, sometimes it's easier for me to take those little baby steps into changing rather than just jumping in and going whole hog for it. I think baby steps helps, because change does make us a little uncomfortable. It's going to take us out of our comfort zone. And so if you do a little baby step, then that works. And sometimes if I'm changing a habit, then I work on changing that habit for, say, 30 days. And then it becomes a new habit. So, yeah, I get what you're saying with that.
Yeah. And so that's really beautiful, because some changes we do have to just jump into.
Yes, we do.
But for safety, sanity, clarity, all the reasons. But most of the changes that we do, you're right, is just a little change at a time. And what I love to tell people is 1-for-1 changes. 1-for-1 changes. It doesn't have to be major. You could substitute out something for something else. I'll give you an example. So, let's read news message. Can you read it?
Yeah. Yes, I appreciate the universe when I was trying to figure something out and got frustrated when certain things keep coming up. I then meet people who give me the perspective I need to let go. Yeah, because, people are messengers in our lives,
You're right, Nu. Sometimes we're waiting for that sign. We wait for that sign, whether it's our angel messages or numbers, or we see a cloud that looks like something like, yep, that's my sign. You're right.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. And it's also, we look for things in nature too, but people, sometimes you can see somebody on the street and they'll say something to you, and that's a message for you, and I think that's sort of what New's talking about too, that,
Yeah. You'll feel it. Yeah. And, or you'll see a situation happening around you, and it's something just so simple as maybe you see a mother and her child enjoying themselves at the park, and it touches your heart, and you're like, that heals something inside of you. You see something that heals you, and then
Mhm,
you can heal that part, and then you can make those changes. You felt
mhm.
that little bit that you needed to get you to the next part, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think change comes in so many different ways,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that we should also think about the synchronicities in our life, because our guides, our team, they're right there. They're going to help us, but they're not going to help us unless we ask them to.
Right. And
And
they
then we
can't
have to
for
pay
us.
attention to their language.
That's right. And then I don't know about you, but for me, if I know I'm supposed to do something and I don't do it, well, then I end up in some big trouble.
Yep, yep. If you don't follow that guidance, you
Yeah.
don't follow that little voice, it always turns out a little difficult. And then you go, I should have listened to myself there. And it's really could have been my higher self, could have been my team. You never know.
Yeah. And I mean, it could be just simple as like, what should I wear today?
Yeah. Well, because you just never know.
Right. Exactly.
And
And
we're all going through some changes right now, aren't we?
yes, we are.
We're going through some earth changes right now. And, well, maybe talk about, a little bit about some of those earth changes that are coming around. Like Lisa said, we just had the eclipse.
Yeah. We just had the eclipse. And and when you think about the power of that, the power of the eclipse lining up with the asteroid, this divine asteroid that's in our energy field, lining up with all kinds of different moons and energies, and how amazing is it that all of that had to line up. It has to line up perfectly. We can't fathom how that works,
Mm-mm.
because it is set divinely to the point where it's just incredible. If you think about how billions and millions of years in our human time had to line up for all of these things to happen, every moment by moment is set up divinely. Now, there are things that throw it off track and get things distracted, like these weather occurrences that are not, they're not organic. But for the most part, the divinity lines up so we can make those changes. We
Mm-hmm.
can have those opportunities. And even when disaster or something horrible happens, it helps us open up another layer of compassion in our hearts that we didn't even know was possible.
Mm-hmm.
So every moment is a new moment of change. That next breath is that next moment of change. And Lisa, you're back, and maybe you could talk some more about what Raven was talking about with some of the earth changes going on.
Oh, yeah, because you were talking earlier about the eclipse and.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is, well, and just in general, when it comes to changes, if I'm not mistaken, our sun is so active that this year we have had record breaking solar flares, X class, the aurora borealis lights that are coming
Yes.
through.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone is just immense. The energy on earth at this moment is it's huge, and it's intense. And those of us who are a little more connected to energies than others, we definitely feel it. I know.
For sure.
I know
the
my
aurora
body.
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know my body's been, with these changes, it affects my body seriously. But what were you going to say?
I was just gonna say, yeah, that Lisa was talking about how amazing the energy on Earth is this whole year. And in South Carolina, I saw the aurora borealis. I never dreamed I would ever see that in where I live. It's incredible. And you're right, Raven. Our whole bodies are feeling this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not feeling it, that's okay. Maybe you got a little bit more work to do, but I'm telling you, you can feel it in the air. You can see it in the animals. If you look at the animals, you can see it in them. You can, it's just everywhere. You can see things changing, the clouds, the energy around you. And, a lot of people feel it, like you were saying, Raven. You might feel it like you don't want to eat as much, or you don't want to eat the same things you were. You don't want to have the same old habits. So now is a really good time to acknowledge where you're at and make those changes. So I'll just say from my perspective, I knew there was a time when, oh, Lisa, she'll be back, where my body had to make those changes, or else I don't know where I would have been. Now, initially, I'll just say it is tough to make some of those changes for your body. Like, people who drink. At one point in time, I did enjoy alcohol, but my body didn't. It made me sick. It made me feel horrible and achy and bad, but I would still have some drinks with people because I was around those people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that they did. So I felt like, oh, okay, it's still okay, until my body tells me it's not. I get signs and messages in dreams, and I just know it's not right for me anymore. It's not who I need to be or what I need to be. And my body doesn't like it. And it's not good for me. And go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, I was just going to say, so that's one of those things that I quit. Just one of those things you just jump out of. But something maybe like when we were talking that takes a little longer, to being vegan. For me, I did like a 1-for-1 change. I took my time with it. At first, I just cut out different meats one at a time. So maybe I got down to, say, like I got rid of the red meats and did chicken and fish and all of that. And then I got rid of the chicken, and then I kept the fish and shrimp and things. And then I got rid of that. And then I substituted 1-for-1 things, like instead of milk, which I never really drank a lot of milk anyway. I always was really more almond milk and oat milk things anyway. But you could do that. You substitute something out. So you're not missing out on something. You're just making that change, right? You're not punishing yourself, because when you think of diet, you think I'm dying, right? So I just think of it as like, I'm not punishing myself. I'm just going to make a change. So there's things that you can do. Yeah, you can make those changes. Definitely, for sure. Take it slow. So say, like, instead of having, I think sugars are like the hardest thing, like hard to get off of. But you can make substitutes even with sugar, like dates. Bananas are already sweet. You have other things that you can use to make substitutes. It's just, we don't see that in front of us. So we think it's almost impossible. But I think that's one good thing about having shows like this and people who come out and provide content about those kinds of things, like TikTok and Pinterest and things. They show you some other way that you can do it. And then you're like, oh my God, well, they can do it. I have now somebody who can show me. And many of the things that we do, like when we talked at the beginning, how about being a doula, our families did this generationally. They're concerned or worried. We learned from our families, right? Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, food is a big thing in families. So changing that is going to be a hard concept to start with, right? Socially, emotionally, comfort food, right? all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you
Mhm.
know, on the subject of food, I mean, the food that I ate when I was a young girl, I could take the same plate of food when I was a young girl and the same exact, you know, not plate of food, but, you know, the same exact items on the plate of food. Nowadays, there are not as many nutrients in it, and it doesn't taste the same. And our food's being chemically raised, they're putting chemicals into the soil.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even in, prepackaged foods are like the super worst of it all. You know, there's no nutritional value in
Mhm.
them. And they have those additives in there to get you addicted to it, you know.
Yeah,
Like
and
at one point, I was addicted to ices. I don't know. Y'all haven't lived in the South. Well, you are living in the South.
I know
Yeah.
Isis.
I was like, ices would solve any problem, but you know, it's just sugar.
Yeah, sugar and food coloring dye.
Yeah. But I mean, so
Mhm.
we just have to look and maybe change some of our diets. And that'll bring about emotional changes in our bodies and physical changes in our bodies by what I mean, it's really true. Our body is a temple and we are what we eat. And if you put a bunch of toxins in there, well, I mean, what are you going to get?
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful too. And I'll tell you guys something gross. How about that? Fun
Okay.
gross thing. If you think about what goes into your body, a lot of the times we never really think about it, we just eat it. We just eat it. We don't really think about it. We were always like, oh, it's gonna be fine, whatever. But if you ever eat or drink beets, there's a good chance that you're gonna see it be red in
Hmm.
your urine or your feces.
I love beets.
Yeah, I love beets too. But there's a good chance that you're going to see that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the correlation that I learned about that was the faster that you see it, it helps you understand how your body absorbs nutrients.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so while it's kind of gross, it's kind of cool too. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, what's my body doing? And then if you think about just, oh, that's beets, that's natural. Well, what if I put this in my body? How fast is that affecting me? Like, say you're drinking alcohol and you get drunk really fast. Your body is saying that's how fast it's metabolizing what you're putting in it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So your body,
Yeah.
like you said, you are what you eat and drink
Hmm.
almost immediately.
Yeah. Like when we go to the grocery store, I have this app called Yuka.
Mm-hmm.
And when we go to the grocery store, and you know how they'll have things, this is healthy, this is organic. You scan that, and it is not healthy. And it's not organic. But they sell it to you as being organic and health food. It is nowhere near health food. I mean, it gets a score of like 20 out of 100, you know. It is not healthy at all.
Right. And that really hurts us. We want to make those changes, but then we have those options that aren't good for us.
Yeah. And it's especially bad when we want to make those changes and we want to do healthy choices. And so we go to the grocery store and they're saying, hey, look, this is a healthy choice over here. But when you scan it with, you know, your healthy ingredients app or whatever, you scan it and you go, oh my God, there's poison in here. And the Yuka app tells you the toxins that are in the food.
Mm-hmm.
It's a, it is, I love that app and it's free. And we go in the grocery store and whatever we go to buy, you know, we're scanning it.
Yeah.
Like you can't scan fruit, but you know what I mean.
Well, yeah. And then anywhere that the food was grown, you're getting the energy from that land, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and Nu just had a comment that's really about the same thing.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. AURA Hypnosis really helped me to get rid of meat and sugar. I gradually lost my appetite for those, and anytime I ate a piece of meat, I got a nightmare about that animal being killed. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You start thinking about their
Mhm.
pain and you start feeling it. And I remember being a little girl
Mhm.
and I had they made liver. They wanted me to eat
Uh,
liver. And I cut up the piece of
Oh.
meat, and for the time it took to get from my fork to my mouth, I was in tears. I was in tears because I was like, "Oh my God, whose liver is this? Like, whose could it be? Like, who did this belong to?" And I'm like, "I will never do this again. Don't even ask." And well, of course, that wasn't a fun night for my parents, but I didn't need it. I didn't need it.
yeah, I couldn't bring
I'm
myself
gonna
to
see if
eat
I can.
liver either. Were you going to see what, Lisa?
This lag, but I have a thought.
Yes.
When it comes to choices and whatever it may be, when someone is desiring something, whether it's something that they eat or drink, and is this choice that they are making, besides is if it's healthy or not, does whatever it, let's just say alcohol, okay, let's just throw that out there. Do you control it, or does it control you?
Yeah.
And when it comes to something like that, someone maybe would want to ask themselves that when it comes to something that's not so healthy for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that's true. No, it's the same thing with smoking. I mean, do you control it or does it control
Mhm.
you?
Yeah, or like even like your daily coffee.
Mhm.
Is it habit? Is it
Mhm.
filling a need? Is it filling a gap for something? Like sweets. Are you unhappy in your life? Do you feel sadness? Are you just trying to put some
Mhm.
kind of love in there and the sweetness is all you have? Like what is it that's causing you to want that?
That's a different way to think about it. Yeah, the
Mhm.
way, what you just said. Hadn't thought about that, but yeah.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
so then when you recognize it, Raven, like you just said, like when you do think about it, like, okay, what am I missing? Why do I feel that sadness? What is it linked to? Is it from now when I was a kid, a different life? Like, why am I sad?
Well, and a lot of our issues do come from past lives. They do.
Yeah.
So,
Past
and
lives
we
and
have to think
childhood.
about that too,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of things that we carry over from past lives that we've, karma that we haven't, excuse me, processed, or um, things that we haven't rectified, lessons we haven't learned, and they're carried over into this life so that we can learn them. So when we're talking about change, how many things are we repeating unconsciously in this lifetime that's a carryover from other lifetimes? And we're setting these things up in our lifetime right now, unconsciously setting these things up, same scenarios. And so when you're thinking about putting something into your body, why am I putting this into my body? Do I need, am I looking for some sweetness in my life? A little bit of love in my life,
Yeah. And then, like you were just saying, those people that are still in our lives, are they making me unhappy? Is that why I don't have the love? Am I
Well,
right?
yeah.
Is this job killing me? Do I have this stress from that job, or what is this coming from?
Yeah, not everybody can have a job like I have, where I enjoy everybody that I work with, and I get to work with animals, and but not everybody has that opportunity. But if you don't like your job, change it. So, what's a good way you think maybe to come about on some changes?
Well, yeah, we talked a little bit about that 1-for-1 thing with the food.
Mm.
Like, don't deprive yourself of living your life. Don't punish yourself and think you have to hurt yourself or cause yourself to, self when you feel bad, try to make up for it by hurting yourself. Don't do that. First of all, don't do that. Stop punishing yourself. Stop it.
Oh yeah, gosh.
Don't do that. You are beautiful. And if it was something that was truly atrocious, yeah, you need to figure it out and figure out how to deal with it and work on it and make up for it. But you can do that. Because I have seen, again, in the sessions that we do with AURA Hypnosis, I have seen the darkest of darkest souls, entities, oh my God, change. They chose to get help and they were horrible. But they knew they had to make a choice. And they made that choice that was for them. And they had to forgive themselves. But you can, no matter what you have done, no matter, you can change. Now,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Sam says it's
Every day is a new day.
That is.
Mhm.
Sam says it's almost like most of the things we do control us and make us have a powerful need for compulsive repetition.
Yeah.
I know how to say that word.
Yeah, I love that comment. That's right. Because that compulsive, oh God, I like that. A powerful need for compulsive repetition. Yeah, think about it. When you do something, you're like, oh God, I messed up. So you got to try to keep repeating it, right? Like, okay, I can get it right this time. And then it sets up again, then you get it wrong again. You're like, oh God, I'm gonna do it right this time. But then you're really punishing yourself, and it's like, okay. And then you make yourself more anxious, and it's really just take a breath. Take a breath, first of all. Take a breath. Because a change can happen in a breath. So take that breath.
Absolutely.
And when you let it out, you got to change your mindset. You got to change your mindset. Are you feeling like you've been attacked? Are you feeling like you're attacking people? Are you feeling like you have a lack of something? You feel like whatever it is, are you not able to meet yourself where you want to be? So what is it? And then, so take that breath and figure out what it is. And I always recommend to people, write it down. Write it all out. Get it out there. The craziest things ever. Write it all down. Whatever it is that's bothering you, whatever you feel like you need to change, whatever you feel like has hurt you emotionally, whatever you feel like is just stuck in your brain like a little ant gnawing on you. One of those little things that plays over and over again, like those annoying commercials.
Yeah.
Write it down. Write it down. You don't have to show anybody. Don't show anybody because it's for you to work on, right? And then when you start looking at it, you're like, oh my God, where did I get this from? Right? So acknowledging that is, the next step.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, that's a better way of change other than what we normally go through is, like that movie Groundhog Day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where he keeps going through it and going through it and going through it, trying to change it and trying to change it. And what do they say in AA about repeating the same things over and over again, expecting a different result?
Mm-hmm. Well, and in Groundhog Day, he had to figure out every single day how to make it different, right? But you know what? He learned how to play the piano. So
Right?
he did learn. He learned from all that,
Yeah.
all his mistakes, all the things. He learned how not to do something. He learned how to do something. And then how to be okay with it not going how he thought it was going to go.
Yeah. And I mean, that happens to us every day.
Yeah, that's right. Because you got to think too, like you're working on you, but it might not go the way you want it to go because not everybody's where you're at. Not everybody reached that point of thought process. Not everybody reached the point of saying, "Oh my God, I can't do this anymore." So you're going to have to make a choice. Are you going to stay around those same people that are making those choices that you want to come out of? Because if so, you're most likely going to stay in that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to keep repeating that, like Sam said, and you're going to want to still feel that call to get out of it. But you got to make a choice, and choice is change.
Well, and sometimes it's as easy as finding a like-minded group of what area you want to be in. Like,
Yeah.
I like the group that we have with the Aura practitioners because we are a like-minded group and we stick together and we help each other and we give each other a hand up. Whereas if we were still back in those other situations that were pulling us down, then we wouldn't have that and that other energy to help us.
Right. And I noticed, just thinking back on it, I did feel really guilty, without having other people that I could look to for inspiration that were on the same path. I felt guilty, like, oh gosh, am I going to let people down because I want to change?
Yeah.
And am I going to be able to take the fact that somebody's not going to be happy with me?
Yeah, those are all factors as well. So New says diligent practice, breathing, bringing peace in the present moment, anchored in the now, and nothing can pull us away. No longer being a prisoner of the past or future is a great liberation. No, you are so brilliant.
Yeah.
I love her. She's
Love it.
amazing. Yes.
And you're right, New. Being a prisoner of the past, we just talked about the past, but the future too. We could be so afraid of what ifs that we don't take those steps to go to the future, because the future begins with right now, which was once back then. So
Yeah.
you're right. Being afraid of what could be
Love it.
is a big thing. And taking that breath, that breathing, oh my gosh, it's really understanding what that breath is so important. So important. The oxygen, it goes into your lungs, right? It goes through your body, and oh gosh, it stimulates your brain, your blood, goes throughout everywhere. So that breath is so important for just everything. Everything. Oh, I love what Latoya said.
Latoya's, yes, every soul is worthy of forgiveness. Absolutely. We mustn't let the potential of guilt or shame keep us stuck. That's true.
That's right.
That's so hard, though. I mean, like you said, am I going to disappoint somebody if I do this? And it's hard to get out of that, but we do need to get out of that because we need to do what's best for us without causing harm to anybody else in the process. Because we don't need to cause harm to anybody, but we're all on this path. We're all on this journey of healing and evolving and growing. And even people who don't even think they are on that path.
They are. And it's really been incredible. Like you were talking about this year, like all the shifts in the energy, like people, I've noticed so many people have changed, and people you never would have thought. People you never would have thought made those shifts and changes are starting to wake up and make those changes. They're starting to see like things for what they are. And just, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I have had some people lately that were like, hey, I mean, all of a sudden I'm realizing that all of this, I always said, what would happen if you woke up one day and everything you had been told was a lie?
Yes.
And that's what we're all doing now, is we're waking up and going, what the? It's a lie. And then it's so hard to get out of it because, you know, you've been programmed to do this since you were in your mother's womb,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
And so now we got to get
Mhm.
out of all those lies that they told us. And Latoya says, I love to do forgiveness, release letters where I burn the letter afterwards. I do that too.
I do that too.
It's a practice I do to let go and move forward, even if I have to rewrite it more than once until I let it go for real. I do that too. What I do is I write the letter and then I read it and read it and read it and read it till I'm sick of it. And then once I'm sick of it, I'm done with it. It gets burned and it's gone. That's me, how I deal with it.
Yeah, I love that. I do that too. It's important to do however you feel you can let something go. Right?
Yep.
And writing it out really connects. When you write something with your hand, it puts the physical to the thoughts. So the thoughts become physical now. And a lot of the times we're fighting things that we can't touch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a beautiful part of writing something out, is that now it's physical, it's touched, it's manifest on words. Of course, it might not be a giant monster or something you can beat up, but it's there. It's brought out from where it was hidden, and it's there now, and you could see it, and now you can do something about it. And burning, I love that Latoya brought up the burning, because that's an element, right?
Fire's transformation.
Right. So we talked a little bit before the show about elements of change, and Divine Mother was sharing with me about elements of change. And when we think of elements, you know, it can mean different things. It could be pieces of parts of something, or elements could be the basic building blocks of something. So when we think about it like that, how can we incorporate that into change? So I have a couple little notes that I took. So with fire, so if we say fire, that's an element. What is it? It burns, it purifies, you know, it turns things into ashes. But we also can rebuild from those ashes, right? Because the ashes, now, I love the phoenix analogy of like how it burns down to ashes and then it comes back. But when you think about that, how does it do it? How does it do it, right? And the fact is, the ashes already contain the elements, the building blocks of what you want to build. You just got to put them back together to create something new.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's so beautiful, is that you can burn everything. Say like you want to your life, you're going to have to get rid of the people. You have to get rid of the job. You have to do this and that to save yourself from whatever's going on, because that's just not you anymore. Or maybe, you know, maybe it's not that significant, severe to you. Maybe you're in a great place, but there's a few things that you just got to let it go. Those ashes, burn it all down. Let it out. Burn it all down, right? And then the lessons that you learned from all those people, places, and things, you learned it. That's your building blocks. That's how you rebuild, is those lessons. You rebuild, and from the next change to the next step is the lesson you learned. And all those things that were so horrendous just now become beautiful. They become beautiful because you can see how you grew from it. And if it wouldn't have happened, that horrible moment, the trauma, the horrible things you went through, and for you to heal yourself and love yourself to the point where you come out of it, if you didn't go through that, how you would have learned. And the time in the moment, it is not good. It is not a fun time. But eventually, when you work through the processes of letting it go, I like to say, face it, feel it, heal it.
That's good. I like that.
Let it go. And once you heal it, the beauty is in seeing how it transformed you. And even those fires, think about when the fires burn something. Say like you burn a field. Well, when the field is burned, it looks dead and desolate and just nothing. But then the next spring comes around and the grass is so green and everything can come back to life because the things that weren't needed are gone. And the stuff that was needed is there able to blossom and grow. So that one element, I think, is just so beautiful to learn from. And we can learn from all the elements, right?
Oh, absolutely. I know that when I was going through my shamanic studies, I learned that water is first medicine. It cleanses from the outside, from the inside out. It cleanses the inside, it cleanses the outside.
Yeah, and that water, think about it, the water is in all our cells, right?
Mhm.
So we're getting that healing from our cells. But then where else do we find water? In our bodies, in our tears.
Yes.
We found water in our tears. And like Latoya was saying, writing those letters is so beautiful. But when our tears come up, maybe say we were writing those letters and we let it come up, those tears are that liquid love that we let out to let ourselves heal. It's a form of, to me, it's a form of love for ourselves and compassion that we had to let out. That's another way we can heal from that, right? That renewal is the renewal, because once we let that flow out, we can renew it. And then that water hydrates that soil, maybe that fire that needs to be hydrated, right? So they're working together.
So New says, beautiful explanation, Gina. It's also like the lotus growing out of the mud.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that Deborah explains the lotus better than anybody. But Gina, do you have a good explanation for our viewers so that they understand what we're talking about here about the lotus and how it
Yes.
repels and all the garbage in the mud?
Yeah. So the lotus seed, that it can grow in the mud, like the darkest, dirtiest, nastiest place, it can grow and flower. And just like us, and like Latoya said, every soul is worthy of forgiveness. We can't let that guilt and shame keep us stuck. So imagine like that guilt and shame and all that stuff being that dark mud. And whenever we're in that mud, that's how we're stuck. So we're going to have to start healing ourselves. And like we talked about, that fire, maybe that fire got rid of some of the underbrush growth that fell around us. And then that water comes inside of us. And while we're in that mud, that water is loosening up the mud around us. It's making it to where we can move again. And then we're getting it out of us. We're getting that water to flow. The tears are flowing out. Whatever mud was inside of us, we're getting that out of us, right? And then maybe we add some more elements, right? Maybe we add the air. We breathe. We're in that mud and that water's coming out. And we breathe. So when we're breathing, that air comes inside of us. And maybe that's lifting us up out of that mud more, getting that off of us more. And then that earth around us, the earth around us is starting to shift. Maybe it's shaking a little bit, like some earthquakes. Maybe that earthquake is like that big realization of, oh my God, I got to do this. That earthquake is shaking and clearing it out and shaking off that mud off of us. And then the ether, the ether is all around us. It's the possibilities of what's going to happen next. What's my potential? And we have so much potential, we don't even know what to do with it. Truly, I still don't know what to do most days. But when you put all of those together, that lotus is in the mud and it's taking all these elements to the point where it goes, it comes out. And if you've ever seen a lotus, how beautiful is it? It is beautiful. And to know the story of like the lotus in the mud and where it came from makes it even more beautiful, because you know that it grew in an environment that wasn't beautiful to start with.
Mm-hmm.
That is where I see that.
I love that. That's beautiful. Another way that I like to work on myself is like during the day, we meet with certain people, we gather energy throughout the entire day. So when I come home and I take a shower, I go counterclockwise on my chakras, and then I let the water run all through my chakras. And then I imagine all that garbage and sludge and negative energy or whatever is going down the drain. And then when I feel like that is clear, then I spin them in a clockwise direction to close them, because you should never leave them open. And that's how I clear out a lot of energy first in my day,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So water, it cleanses from the inside out. Our tears cleanse our body. Outside, the water outside of our body cleanses our body. So,
Yeah. And that's so beautiful because, you know, you had to get to the point where you learned the tools again, right? Where you remembered. We have to wake up to the point where we can remember that we have tools and that we can use them and learn them.
and
So,
remember that we can look within ourselves
yeah.
for the healing and not out elsewhere to
Mhm.
other people and other things. Lisa, is there something special that you do that helps clear you of energy, or?
Um, I like going out to nature and playing my drum when I've had a hard day. It helps me release and connect, of course, with Mother, Source, and all the elements. So, besides having all the tools in the tool belt to assist, I also like to do that as well. So,
And that's beautiful, Lisa, because
and
that's
let's not forget about petting kitty cats.
yeah. I have kitty cats too.
So do we.
But yeah, that's so beautiful because that's a natural, innate part of you for healing, right? That's a part of you that you allowed yourself to create for change, for yourself to shake it off. So that, like you were saying, Raven, like we can heal ourselves. And that
Mhm.
innate thing that Lisa was talking about for her was the drums in nature. So
Hmm.
there might be something special that you guys do who are listening for yourselves that's healing. Maybe you like to go for a drive by yourself. Maybe you want to go walk down by the ocean. Whatever's healing your heart, this just calls for you, like Lisa said.
Oh, I think the ocean is so healing. But I grew up on the
Mhm.
water and the ocean, and how healing it was. And now I'm living in a place that's landlocked, and it's like I've had to find different ways. So I find the water in the shower, because water has always been my way of cleansing my body. So Latoya says, "Oh, I'm crying as I write the letter. Liquid love. Releasing is a beautiful act of self-love." Yes, it is. I agree with
Mhm.
you, Latoya.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so my question now would be, Miss Gina,
Okay.
what is it that you would like to leave our audience with today?
So I love the conversation we had. I'm so grateful that we all got to be here today. And I just love being able to help people. And if I could say anything about the changes that we talked about, is that you can do this. You have to be brave and trust yourself that you can do it because you can. And there may be people who help you on your path, but nobody's going to save you. And as many times as myself was like, please, somebody help me, I had to do it myself too. And you can do it because I believe in you. Creation believes in you. Source believes in you. The earth, Mother Earth believes in you. You believed enough in you to come here to Earth to do these things, to help yourself get through it and finalize this. Make this the last time you have to deal with all this junk in this life. So next time you're doing something cool, like you're flying again, you're telepathy, you got some crazy cool powers. Do this for yourself because this life is not easy. It's not easy here. Earth is not easy, but it's beautiful and it's worth it. And Earth loves you. You're loved. You are infinitely loved. And you can do this. You can.
Loved more than you know.
We all believe in you and we love you, and you got this.
Awesome. We have so enjoyed having you on the show tonight, and we hope that you could come back on our show sometime.
Oh, that would be so much fun. Thank you, ladies, for having me. I'm so happy that, we got a beautiful message out there, and it makes me want to cry. But again, you guys are loved. You're all loved.
Awesome. And maybe we can have more of the aura practitioners on too. And if you guys are wondering where all of us aura practitioners are coming from, we're coming from Rising Phoenix Mystery School. Aurora is beautiful, and so is Zen. And we learn lots and lots of stuff from them. And so many things from Aurora. She has a channel on YouTube and on Rumble too. So
yeah, the classes are incredible. Do it for yourself, even if it's just learning how to do something like shielding or helping clear your food, because these are tools that we use. We're using our own love light to clear our food, to help protect our families and ourselves. So even that little bit, it gives you confidence too, that you can keep going on your journey. So that was really beautiful.
Thank you. And Sam Blue thinks it's beautiful too. Thank you for your message. So we thank you all. And we hope that you have a great 2 weeks. And we will be back in 2 weeks. I'm not quite sure who we have coming on, but we are booked up until December. It's crazy.
Awesome, you guys.
So anyway, everybody have a good night. Love, honor, and respect. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to our audience especially, and your participation. We hope you have enjoyed watching Soulfire Ascension with Raven and Lisa Lovelight. You can also watch Soulfire Ascension on YouTube and Rumble at Soulfire Ascension, or listen to us on Spotify. Please like, share, and subscribe. Soulfire Ascension is sponsored by RavensHealingarts.com.